Have you ever walked into your vegetable garden in the middle of summer, expecting a beautiful, massive harvest, only to find your plants covered in yellow leaves, blight, and ruined fruit? It is one of the most frustrating and heartbreaking moments for any gardener. You spend hours digging, weeding, and watering, yet the results are often disappointing and exhausting. But what if I told you there is a specific type of plant that practically grows itself, fights off diseases naturally, and gives you a harvest so huge you will not know what to do with it? Today, we are talking about the incredible world of purple tomatoes. Many people look at these dark, exotic fruits and assume they require advanced skills, perfect weather, or expensive fertilizers to grow. I am here to tell you that this is a massive myth. In fact, choosing to grow purple varieties is the ultimate lazy gardener hack. By simply changing the color of the fruit you decide to plant, you can easily cut your workload in half while doubling or even tripling your yield. These mysterious fruits hold a deep biological secret that makes them tougher, healthier, and much more resilient than your average red supermarket variety. I'm going to show you exactly how to grow them using the smartest, lowest effort methods possible. Stay tuned because I have saved the most surprising secret about their flavor and how to harvest them for the very end. Before we dive into the lazy gardening techniques, we need to understand exactly what makes these dark beauties so incredibly special. The striking color of purple tomatoes is not just for show, it is a profound biological advantage. This deep, rich coloring comes from a high concentration of organic compounds called anthocyanins. These are the exact same powerful antioxidants that give blueberries and blackberries their dark purple hues. Historically, the wild ancestors of our modern tomatoes, which originated in the harsh climates of South America, naturally contained these compounds. They needed them to survive intense sunlight, poor soils, and natural pests. However, over decades of commercial breeding, humans selected tomatoes almost exclusively for a uniform red color and thick skin that could survive long-distance shipping. In the process, we accidentally bred out the anthocyanins, leaving us with weaker plants that require constant human intervention, chemical sprays, and babying. Recently, brilliant traditional breeders have crossed heirloom varieties to bring these wild, resilient genetics back into our backyard gardens. When you plant a purple tomato, you are not just planting a trendy vegetable, you are reintroducing ancient, wild resilience to your garden. This is exactly why they are the perfect candidate for our smart, hands-off approach to maximum food production. Let us start with the very first step of smart gardening, which is choosing the right weapons for your garden. When we talk about purple tomatoes, we are not talking about one single plant. There is an entire universe of varieties out there, and picking the right one is crucial for your lazy gardening success. You will encounter famous names like Cherokee Purple, which is a large, meaty heirloom with a dusky, brownish-purple hue and a flavor that is legendary among chefs. Then there are the true purple varieties like Indigo Rose or Black Beauty, which look almost completely black or deep plum on the outside. These darker varieties have been specifically bred for maximum anthocyanin expression. The secret here is that the darker the skin, the more natural sunscreen the plant possesses. This means you do not have to worry about sun scald destroying your fruit during brutal midsummer heat waves. By selecting robust, dark varieties, you are front-loading your success. You are making a decision in early spring that will save you hours of stress and heartbreak in July. Always look for seeds labeled as indeterminate, meaning they will keep growing and producing fruit until the first frost, giving you a continuous, massive harvest for months on end. Now, let us talk about the foundation of your effortless garden, and that is the soil. Most traditional gardeners believe that to grow amazing vegetables, you need to break your back digging, rototilling, and turning the dirt every single spring. I am here to tell you that this is a complete myth, especially when you are growing vigorous purple varieties. Tilling actually destroys the delicate soil food web, chopping up beneficial earthworms and ripping apart the microscopic fungal networks that naturally feed your plants. Instead, we use the absolute best lazy method, no-dig gardening. Simply lay down a thick layer of plain brown cardboard right over your grass or weeds, and then pile about 6 to 8 inches of rich, dark compost right on top of it. That is all you have to do. You have just created a perfect, nutrient-dense garden bed without lifting a heavy shovel or renting a machine. The cardboard will completely smother the weeds and eventually break down, while the compost provides a slow, steady, and perfect stream of food for your plants. Your tomatoes will develop incredibly deep, healthy roots in this fluffy compost, making them far more resilient to drought. You just saved yourself hours of back-breaking labor. When the time finally comes to put your seedlings into the ground, there is a secret planting technique that will practically guarantee a massive root system, and it requires zero extra maintenance later on. Most beginners dig a small hole, place the root ball inside, and cover it up. That is a huge mistake. Tomatoes have a superpower. They can grow roots all along their main stem. To take advantage of this, we use the deep planting or trenching method. You want to pinch off the bottom leaves of your seedling and bury up to 2/3 of the entire plant underground. You can either dig a very deep hole, or, if your soil is shallow, dig a long horizontal trench and lay the plant down sideways, gently bending the top leafy part upwards. Over the next few weeks, that entire buried stem will explode with new roots. Think of the root system as the engine of a car. By burying the stem deep, you are upgrading from a tiny motor to a massive, powerful engine. This massive root system will dig deep into the earth to find hidden water and nutrients, meaning you will rarely ever have to water them manually. This one simple planting trick sets the stage for months of lazy, effortless growth. Spacing is another area where eager gardeners accidentally create endless work for themselves. It is very tempting to cram as many plants as possible into a small space, thinking it will give you a bigger harvest. In reality, overcrowding is a one-way ticket to disease and low yields. When plants are packed too tightly, air cannot flow through the leaves. This stagnant, humid air is the perfect breeding ground for fungal diseases like early blight. For our lazy gardening strategy to work, you must give your purple tomatoes plenty of room to breathe. I recommend leaving at least 3 feet of space between every single plant. This might look completely empty and ridiculous when they are tiny seedlings, but within 2 months they will turn into massive, sprawling bushes. Wide spacing ensures that the morning sun quickly dries the dew off the leaves, naturally preventing fungal spores from germinating. By simply spacing them out correctly on day 1, you completely eliminate the need to buy and spray chemical fungicides later in the season. You are letting the wind and the sun do the hard work of keeping your garden perfectly healthy. If there is one magic bullet for the lazy gardener, one absolute secret weapon that changes everything, it is mulch. I cannot stress this enough. Bare soil is a crime in the smart garden. Bare soil dries out rapidly, bakes in the sun, and invites millions of weed seeds to sprout. To avoid spending your summer pulling weeds and dragging heavy hoses around, you must apply a thick blanket of mulch. Once your plants are in the ground, surround them with at least 4 inches of organic matter. You can use straw, dried grass clippings, or wood chips. This thick layer acts like a protective shield. It stops sunlight from reaching weed seeds, meaning weeding becomes a thing of the past. More importantly, it acts like a sponge, locking moisture into the soil even during the hottest, driest weeks of summer. The mulch also slowly breaks down over the season, feeding the earthworms and adding rich organic matter back into your garden. By taking 20 minutes to heavily mulch your beds in the spring, you are buying yourself hundreds of hours of free time throughout the summer. It is the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it strategy. Let us talk about watering, because this is where most people completely ruin their harvest while simultaneously working too hard. The biggest myth in gardening is that your plants need a little bit of water every single day. Daily, shallow watering is actually terrible for your plants. It encourages the roots to stay right at the surface of the soil, making the plant incredibly vulnerable to the slightest drought. For our resilient purple varieties, we want to practice tough love. We water them deeply, but very infrequently. I am talking about giving them a heavy, slow soaking right at the base of the plant only once every 5 to 7 days, depending on your climate. This forces the roots to dive deep into the earth, chasing the moisture hidden below. Once your plants develop these deep root systems, they essentially become self-sufficient. They can easily survive intense heat waves without you having to rush outside with a watering can. Plus, keeping the top layer of soil dry prevents those nasty fungal diseases we talked about earlier. Remember, in the lazy garden, less frequent watering actually produces much stronger, healthier plants. One of the most fascinating aspects of growing these dark varieties is how they develop their signature color. The deep purple pigmentation is directly triggered by sunlight. The anthocyanins act as a natural defense mechanism against strong ultraviolet rays, much like how human skin tans in the sun. This means that only the parts of the fruit exposed to direct sunlight will turn that beautiful dark purple. The undersides, or the parts hidden by heavy leaves, will remain green or turn red depending on the specific variety. If you want the darkest, most nutrient-packed fruit possible, you need to manage the sunlight. This does not mean intense daily labor. It simply means that as the fruit clusters begin to develop and reach their mature size, you can casually snap off 1 or 2 leaves that are directly shading the fruit. By exposing the shoulders of the tomatoes to the sun, you trigger a massive flush of anthocyanins. It takes only seconds to do, but it dramatically increases the health benefits and the striking visual appeal of your harvest. Pest control is usually the most stressful part of maintaining a vegetable patch, often involving toxic chemical sprays and constant vigilance. But since we are practicing smart gardening, we are going to let nature do the pest control for us. Purple tomatoes already have an edge. Many pests are naturally deterred by the thick skins and unique chemical compounds of these dark fruits. But we can boost this defense even further by using companion planting. Instead of planting only tomatoes, mix in strong-smelling herbs like basil, marigolds, and garlic right at the base of your plants. These companions act as a natural, invisible shield. The strong scent of basil masks the smell of the tomato plant, confusing pests like aphids and hornworms. Marigolds release compounds into the soil that kill microscopic root nematodes. By creating this diverse mini ecosystem, you attract beneficial insects like ladybugs and parasitic wasps, which are the natural predators of garden pests. You are essentially building a microscopic army that patrols your garden 24 hours a day, keeping your plants safe so you do not have to lift a finger. The topic of pruning is highly controversial among gardeners. Some will tell you that you must pinch off every single side shoot, also known as suckers, to get a good harvest. For the lazy gardener, this kind of obsessive daily pruning is completely unnecessary. In fact, aggressive pruning can actually reduce your total yield and expose your precious fruit to the scorching sun. Our strategy is the middle path. We want to remove the leaves from the bottom 12 inches of the plant to prevent soil splashing up and causing disease. After that, we let the plant do its thing. Allowing a few main suckers to grow turns the plant into a lush, bushy powerhouse that produces multiple clusters of fruit instead of just one single vine. The extra foliage provides energy for the plant and shades the soil, keeping it cool. You might get slightly smaller individual fruits, but your total overall harvest by weight will be massively larger. Stop stressing over every little shoot and let the plant express its natural, wild vigor. Because we are letting our plants grow into massive, heavy bushes, they will eventually need some kind of support. Tying individual branches to a wooden stake every 3 days is tedious and, frankly, exhausting. Instead, we use the ultimate smart support system, the cattle panel trellis, or the Florida weave. A cattle panel is a heavy-duty wire grid that you can buy at any farm store. You simply secure it to 2 metal posts, plant your tomatoes at the base, and let them grow through the thick wire grid. The plant supports itself naturally by resting its branches on the thick wire. If you prefer the Florida weave, you drive sturdy posts between every two plants and weave strong twine back and forth, sandwiching the plants between the strings. You only need to add a new level of string every 2 weeks as the plants grow taller. Both methods completely eliminate the need for hundreds of plastic clips or obsessive tying. You build the structure once in the spring, and it effortlessly holds hundreds of pounds of fruit until the autumn. Let us talk about fertilizer, a topic that companies spend millions of dollars trying to overcomplicate. You do not need expensive neon blue chemical liquids to grow a massive harvest. In fact, those chemical fertilizers provide a quick burst of unnatural growth that actually attracts pests like aphids. In our effortless garden, we rely on the soil biology to feed the plants. Because you laid down a thick layer of high-quality compost and heavy mulch back in the spring, your soil is already packed with slow-release nutrients. If you want to give your plants an extra boost when they start setting heavy fruit, use a completely natural, lazy method like compost tea or a handful of worm castings scattered at the base. The earthworms living under your mulch will naturally pull these nutrients down to the root zone for you. This creates a slow, steady, and incredibly balanced diet for your tomatoes. Plants fed this way grow stronger cell walls, making them even more resistant to both pests and harsh weather. You save money, protect your local water supply, and get significantly healthier food. One of the hidden benefits of purple varieties is their remarkable tolerance to cooler temperatures. Most traditional red tomatoes will immediately drop their blossoms and stop growing the moment the night temperatures dip below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But remember, the dark anthocyanin pigments are a sign of rugged, wild genetics. Many purple varieties, like the black crim, originated in regions with short, intense summers and chilly nights. This means they are naturally more resilient when the weather gets unpredictable. For the homesteader trying to maximize food production, this is a massive advantage. You can often plant these varieties slightly earlier in the spring, and they will continue to produce high-quality fruit much later into the autumn, long after the red varieties in your neighbor's garden have died off. By doing absolutely nothing extra, your harvest window is naturally extended by several weeks. This extended season is just another way these incredible plants work harder, so that you do not have to. As we move into late summer, the sheer weight of the fruit can sometimes cause branches to bend or snap. This is a great problem to have, as it means your lazy methods have resulted in a massive bounty. If you notice a heavy cluster threatening to break a stem, do not panic. Simply use an old strip of cotton fabric, like a torn t-shirt, to gently sling the cluster and tie it to your main trellis. The wide fabric prevents the string from cutting into the stem. But honestly, even if a branch does accidentally snap, purple tomatoes are incredibly forgiving. They will quickly heal the wound and push out a new shoot just below the break. This rugged nature is precisely why we chose them. They do not require a perfect, sterile environment to thrive. They embrace the chaos of the natural garden. Your job is simply to observe, make minor adjustments only when absolutely necessary, and watch the abundance unfold before your eyes. Let us discuss a crucial skill that confuses many first-time growers of dark varieties: knowing exactly when to harvest. With a standard red tomato, it is incredibly easy. When it turns red, you pick it. But when the fruit is naturally dark purple or black, how do you know when it is ripe? If you pick it too early, it will be hard and lack that complex flavor. The secret lies in two specific indicators. First, you must look at the bottom of the fruit, the part facing the ground away from the sun. While the shoulders remain dark purple, the bottom will slowly change from hard green to a beautiful, rich brick red or deep pink color. Second, use the gentle squeeze test. A ripe purple tomato will yield slightly to gentle thumb pressure, feeling like a perfectly ripe peach. By combining the color change on the bottom with the gentle squeeze test, you will harvest at the exact moment of peak flavor. It takes a little bit of practice, but it becomes second nature very quickly. Once you have picked your glorious dark harvest, you must handle them correctly to preserve their incredible flavor. The absolute worst thing you can do to any homegrown tomato, especially a complex purple variety, is put it in the refrigerator. Cold temperatures permanently destroy the volatile enzymes that create that rich, garden-fresh taste, turning the texture mealy and the flavor completely bland. The lazy and correct way to store them is simply to leave them on your kitchen counter at room temperature, keeping them out of direct, intense sunlight. Place them with the stem side facing down. This prevents moisture from escaping the top of the fruit and keeps them fresh for much longer. If you have a massive harvest, which you absolutely will using these methods, you can easily freeze them whole. Just wash them, dry them, and toss them into a freezer bag. When you want to make a rich winter stew or sauce, run the frozen tomato under warm water, and the skin will slip right off effortlessly. If you really want to embrace the self-sufficiency lifestyle, you never want to buy seeds again. Saving seeds from your open-pollinated purple tomatoes is incredibly easy and ensures your future plants become even more adapted to your specific backyard. Find the absolute best, healthiest, and most beautiful tomato from your strongest plant. Do not eat it. This is your seed donor. Slice it open and squeeze the gooey seeds into a small glass jar. Add a little bit of water and let it sit on your counter for about 3 to 5 days until a layer of mold forms on the top. This fermentation process mimics the natural rotting of the fruit in the wild and destroys any seed-borne diseases. After a few days, rinse the seeds in a fine mesh strainer and lay them out on a paper plate to dry completely. You now have hundreds of free, high-quality seeds ready for next year. This simple 5-minute process secures your food supply and makes you completely independent from expensive seed catalogs. Now, let us finally talk about the flavor, because this is where the purple varieties truly shine and leave every other tomato in the dust. You might think that because they look so different, they might taste weird or bitter. The exact opposite is true. Purple tomatoes are famous among culinary experts for having the most complex, rich, and intense flavor profiles of any vegetable in the garden. While modern red varieties are often overly sweet and watery, the dark varieties have a deep, earthy, almost smoky flavor that balances perfectly with a high level of natural acidity. It is often described as a rich, savory umami taste. Slicing a Cherokee purple thick, adding a pinch of coarse sea salt, and placing it on a piece of toasted sourdough bread is an almost religious culinary experience. They make the darkest, richest, and most robust pasta sauces you will ever eat. The flavor alone makes the switch entirely worth it, even without all the incredible labor-saving benefits we have discussed. As autumn approaches and the threat of the first frost looms, you do not have to lose the last of your harvest. Because you chose robust plants, they will be loaded with green and partially purple fruit right up to the end. The smart homesteader knows how to save every last calorie. The day before a hard freeze is predicted, go out and harvest every single tomato, no matter how hard or green it is. Bring them inside and wrap each one individually in a single piece of newspaper, then place them in a cardboard box in a cool, dark room. The fruit releases a natural ethylene gas as it sits, which will slowly ripen the tomatoes over the next few months. By using this effortless storage trick, you can literally be eating fresh, homegrown purple tomatoes on Thanksgiving Day. It is the ultimate way to stretch your garden season into the winter without building expensive greenhouses or using artificial lights. Let us take a step back and look at the big picture of what we have accomplished here. By combining the natural genetic power of purple tomatoes with no-dig soil, deep planting, heavy mulch, and wide spacing, we have completely redesigned the way a garden operates. We have moved away from the exhausting, combative style of gardening where you are constantly fighting nature with a hoe and a chemical spray bottle. Instead, we have built a self-sustaining ecosystem. The soil web feeds the plant. The mulch holds the water. The plant's natural pigments fight off the diseases, and the companion flowers handle the pest control. Your primary job as a gardener is no longer to do the grueling manual labor. Your job is simply to set up the system correctly in the spring, step back, and let millions of years of plant biology do exactly what it was designed to do. This is the true essence of lazy gardening. It is not about neglecting your plants. It is about working smarter, honoring nature, and reaping a massive reward. If you implement even half of these strategies this season, I guarantee you will notice a massive difference, not just in the volume of food you produce, but in how much you actually enjoy being in your garden. You will have time to relax, observe the bees, and actually enjoy the fruits of your minimal labor. The purple tomato is not just a novelty item. It is a gateway to a much more relaxed, abundant, and sustainable way of living. It proves that sometimes the best thing we can do for our gardens is to stop interfering and let nature take the wheel. So this spring, skip the fragile, high-maintenance red varieties. Grab some seeds for indigo rose, black crim, or Cherokee purple. Prepare your soil the lazy way. Plant them deep, cover the ground in mulch, and get ready for the most abundant, stress-free summer harvest of your life. And there you have it, the ultimate blueprint for growing massive amounts of food with the absolute minimum amount of effort. We have uncovered the incredible biological power of anthocyanins, proving that these dark, mysterious fruits are not just stunning to look at, but are natural, disease-fighting powerhouses. By combining these resilient genetics with smart techniques like no-dig beds, deep trench planting, and heavy mulching, you are essentially setting your garden on autopilot. You save hours of backbreaking weeding, you eliminate the need for toxic chemical sprays, and you drastically reduce your watering schedule, all while doubling or tripling your harvest of the most flavorful, smoky, and nutrient-dense tomatoes you will ever eat. The days of fighting your garden are officially over. It is time to let nature do the heavy lifting. I hope this video has inspired you to try the lazy gardener's approach and add some beautiful purple varieties to your homestead this season. If you found these secrets helpful and want to learn more ways to maximize your self-sufficiency, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Now, I would love to hear from you. Have you ever grown a purple tomato before? And if so, what is your absolute favorite variety? Drop your answers and your own lazy gardening tips in the comments below, and let us build a community of smart growers. Thank you so much for watching, and happy, effortless gardening.